Welcome to PWS United, a podcast for the Prader-Willi syndrome community, brought to you by PWSA USA. This podcast gives the latest news in research, advocacy, and family support by bringing together staff, volunteers, PWS treatment specialists, biotech and pharmaceutical representatives, caregivers, family members, and individuals with PWS. Our goal is to share education, awareness, and resources with those living with PWS and their supporters. Join us in our mission to enhance the quality of life and empower those affected by Prader-Willi syndrome.
All righty. Well, welcome everyone to another episode of PWS United. This is a PWSA USA Pulse episode. We're going to be talking about volume 131, and this is from September 19th, 2025. So my co-host Carrie is still she's in Europe and she is on her way home, but I have the lovely Elaine Toll with me, our advocacy specialist. And so we are going to go through this pulse together. So Elaine, you just want to say hi to everybody?
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm delighted to do this. This is my first time. I'm a rookie, so hopefully it will go well. But thanks, Annie. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, I'm excited you're here. All right, so we're gonna get started. So the pulse that went out on Friday was the last day to purchase tickets for the Journey of Hope Gala. We're not gonna go too much into that because obviously it's past time to purchase tickets, but that will be coming up this Friday. September 26th is our gala in St. Louis, Missouri, and we're very excited. It's gonna be such a wonderful event. And it's too late to purchase tickets, but it is not too late to join the auction. There is a virtual auction that is now live, and there are some really incredible items you can bid on. There's jewelry, there are handbags, there are trips to really cool places. There's one to a Florida comedy show, and there's a PWS camp one, and there's just all kinds of cool things. So I really want you to check that out. You'll find a link to that in the show notes, and you will have until Friday, September 26th at 8:15 p.m. Central Daylight Time to make those bids. So check the link in the show notes, and you'll find a link to the auction site, and then there will also be a document on how to bid on the auction. And again, we're just very excited about it. So we'll talk more about it after the event. And so we're going to move on to the PWSA Memory for this week. I got such a kick out of this one. There was, at the fourth annual PWSA conference, a psychologist called Dr. John Rustmeyer sat down with several families to discuss how they cope with PWS. And these interviews were created as a video format and they were put onto VHS and Betamax. Elaine, I don't know what Betamax was, but definitely VHS was a huge part of my childhood.
Yeah, VHS was mine as well. Well, my young adulthood and my kids' childhood. Betamax was a special machine. I'm not sure exactly what it was. I think it was similar, but we never had one.
Okay. Maybe it was like when they started coming out with there were like DVDs, but then there were also Blu-ray discs.
Hmm.
That seemed kind of like a specialized kind of version of that. But anyway, these interviews were put onto VHS and Betamax, and families could rent these from PWSA for it was $20 for members, $50 for outside sources, and the cost covered the cost of production, the postage, insurance, and replacing of the worn out copies because they were VHS and Betamax. Their quality diminished every time you watched them. So in the gathered view from October 1982, they advertised being able to rent these VHS and Betamax. And so if anybody out there had these videos, saw the videos, or participated in the videos, we'd love to hear about it because I'm sure they were really cool. And I don't know who to ask, how to find those tapes. Maybe we have them somewhere, but that'd be really cool to see if
It
anybody has a
seems like
VCR.
an early version of podcasting, but you
Yeah,
had to rent the tape to get it.
yeah, wasn't quite as accessible. Yeah, so I thought that was really fun. That was a fun memory. And our spotlight on hope is a volunteer spotlight. And this was submitted by Melanie Salmon, our director of community development. And so she submitted it in honor of Heather James. So in May of 2024, Heather James, who is mom to Giovanni living with PWS, presented on PWS to her Kiwanis Club of Texarkana. This was the beginning of her public journey as a PWS parent. because of her presentation and her hard work, PWSA was invited to apply for a grant through her club, which we received. And then Heather was recently invited to present to her club on the impact of the grant's support. Her Kiwanis Club recently honored Heather as a rising star, and we are truly grateful to Heather for her dedication and her creativity in spreading awareness and support for PWS. So, if you do get the pulse, I am just now realizing that I forgot to include a link to that volunteer spotlight, so I apologize for that. But there will be a link in the show notes. You can also go to our website and under our blog, it should be near the top. So, I apologize for missing that. But anyway, Heather, thank you so much, and, we'll be sure to get that in the show notes. And just really quickly, because we have our gala coming up, which is a big event for us, there are a number of events coming up in October, and so I didn't wanna just choose one to highlight because I wanna make sure that you know about all of them. So Dance Silly for Prader-Willi is happening October 11th in Warren, Ohio at the Trumbull Career and Technical Center, and that is a fun dance party. We talked about it last year. This is the second annual, I believe. On October 18th in Troy, New York, there's Cocktails for a Cause at the Malt Room at Brown's Brewery, and this is hosted by Stacy Ward, our CEO. So if you're in the area, definitely check that out. Also on that day, Saturday, October 18th at 6:30 p.m. at the Incarnate Word Academy in St. Louis, Missouri, we have the Answers for Audrey Trivia Night. This is the fifth annual Answers for Audrey, another really creative fundraising event that hopefully people will check out if they're in the area. And then, of course, we have the Proud or Silly, A Night of Rare Laughs on October 22nd. That's a Wednesday. That's a really big event. That's at the Zanies Comedy Nightclub in Nashville, Tennessee. And that's just going to be an incredible night. So we have all of these events coming up in October. I will have a link to all of them in the show notes, and we hope that you click on the link and you check them out. And even if you can't go, you can always donate to these specific fundraisers, and all of the proceeds will benefit the work that we do at PWSA. All right, we're ready for advocacy.
Great. So I'm going to talk about some recent advocacy events that I've had the opportunity to participate in. The first one is the Global Genes Rare Drug Development Symposium. This was my first Global Genes event, and it was great. It was in Boston. I live close to Boston, so I was able to get there easily. So I attended, and the attendees included advocates and representatives from many rare disease communities, as well as clinicians, physician scientists, and researchers from the greater rare disease community. It was a really good opportunity to learn about the drug development world and the important role that organizations like PWSA USA have in that process. One session focused on navigating the drug development roadmap and introduced the attendees to the key stages of that process, that sometimes very long process. Critical areas for engagement by advocates and people living with rare disease were highlighted, and they published this great graphic that we included in last week's issue, but there'll be a link to it in the show notes, I assume. And
Yep. Yeah.
it's really informative, and it's a little overwhelming when you start kind of putting all the pieces together, but you can see where some of the work that has happened in our community, especially with VICAP being approved last March. We had a fast track approval, so we take at the final stages, we kind of skip a bunch of steps because it was the rare drug indication, and received that approval. So it was a really interesting meeting. A couple of other things that were really interesting, they had two companies. Oh, Pitch Perfect, they called it. Pitch Perfect, de-risking your disease to drive investment and collaboration. And two presenters from two different rare diseases got up and spoke to a panel of five people as though they were trying to get those five people to invest in their disease. So it was like they were speaking to both financial people, but mostly pharmaceutical company people. It was a really good process. I thought both of the speakers were fabulous, but the feedback they got was even better. They wanted, more patient specific information. They wanted, more details about who the key players are in the organization. So it was a great and really interesting process to see. I'm not sure I or we will ever be in that position, but we could, and I just thought it was really, really helpful to see that. They wanted some information about the competitive landscape and how big the group is, what's the population that would be of interest for this drug, which are all really important
Mm.
things. Another speaker used a phrase that I loved and I'm going to use. She was talking about research today that's really focused on helping the condition as we work towards a cure for some of these conditions. And we all talk about a cure someday for Prader-Willi syndrome, but she called it care until cure. And I just loved that.
Mm.
I get a little bit
Yeah.
goosebumply when I think about it. I
I
just
did
really
too.
like yeah, I just really liked that phrase. So we have a drug. Our first drug was, launched in March. That's care until cure. We have other drugs in phase 3 clinical trials that we hope will be on the market sometime in the near future. Again, care until cure. So it was really very interesting. The other big
Love
thing
that.
that they talked about that was impactful for me was the use of data and the importance of data collection. If you don't participate in the global PWS registry, please do. We have about 2,000 people in our registry, which is a big number, but more is always better. And the data
Mhm.
from that registry is used by researchers, it's used by pharmaceutical companies, it's used by different organizations to kind of keep advancing the research into the disease. Another area they talked about was physical specimens, blood specimens, and actual tissue specimens. And that's just starting in our world. We have a small tissue data bank that's managed by FPWR. But I think if you have the opportunity to donate blood specifically to go into this kind of research data bank, again, another really useful thing. We had an opportunity at our annual conference in June, and my son and I had planned to do it. He wanted to do it, and we totally forgot because it got so busy.
Oh,
So I'm always looking for another opportunity near us to be able to do that because I'd like to participate in that. So that was a really good conference. I've been working for PWSA since January. I've been a PWSA mom for a very long time, but this was good. It gave me a little bit bigger picture about the rare disease community and kind of how we fit and what the work we're doing, how meaningful the work we're doing is. So that was a
mhm.
great program, and I would recommend Global Genes if you have interest in these kinds of things.
So you were there with other rare disease communities. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it was kind of a gathering and
Yeah, there were it was interesting, I forgot to say this, it was interesting because everyone that I introduced myself to from other rare disease communities, everyone knew of PWS. It's not very common when you're introducing yourself to a bunch of strangers that they know what you're talking about when you say PWS. So
Mhm.
that was nice. It was a different kind of twist on meeting a bunch of new people. So it was great. It was a really good conference. Um,
Nice. Can I throw in also a plug for the trend community? Because they're also gathering data, and I
Mhm.
know that because of the data they gathered that helped to get the pitolisant trial started.
Yeah.
So, I'll put a link to something about the trend community because we're on Discord, and that's also de-identified information gathering like the global registry.
Another thing that actually wasn't in the Pulse last week, but I'll mention quickly, I had another opportunity to drive to Boston the week after the Global Genes meeting. This was a program sponsored by NORD, the National Organization for Rare Diseases, working with institutions and hospitals that are part of their rare disease network. And so this was held at Boston Children's Hospital, and it was called From Diagnosis to Therapy, and it was a lunch and learn, and the audience was actually primarily clinicians and mostly young clinicians, which I always love to see.
Yeah.
Young, new, eager physicians and other staff learning about our rare disease. And it was all about PWS. It was focused on Prader-Willi syndrome. The people from Soleno, who manufactured Vicat, were there. They had one of their physician scientists there who gave the most medical talk. I've been a PWS mom for 39 years. I'd never heard a talk in the detail that he did to talk medically about it to all these young medical professionals. And it was great. I loved that all these people there were hearing about it. They had a family there as well who participated and spent about 40 minutes kind of getting interviewed, a mom, a dad, and their 16-year-old son who was with us on our last DC fly-in. So I knew the family a little bit, and they just did a great job. And it gave these people a whole new perspective about what rare diseases are all about, and specifically about Prader-Willi syndrome. So I thought that that was a really useful exercise. I also took the opportunity when it was over to speak speak to the doctor who was organizing it. I think he was a geneticist, and said, "So, I hope this means you're considering a multi-specialty PWS clinic in Boston sometime soon." And he said,
Yeah.
"Oh, yeah, we'd like to do that." So I don't have a timeline for you if you're from Boston, but if you are from the Boston area, you know that we haven't had a clinic like that for a very long time. And I put a pitch in on the day of that program.
Nice. Well, may
Mhm.
it be so.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And then the last thing I'll talk about, last week, a group of advocates for PWSA traveled to Washington, D.C. for a bunch of visits on the Hill. We were there in meetings on Tuesday and Wednesday morning last week. There were 8 of us, in attendance, and I think we did 12 or 14 meetings kind of amongst the group. Our big focus was the PRV, Priority Review Voucher Program, which is in a bill called the Give Kids a Chance Act of 2025. And we had the opportunity while we were there on Wednesday to sit in on a hearing of the House Energy and Commerce Committee. This was a new experience for me. I've been to the Hill a lot, but I'd never done this before. A hearing of this committee, and they were discussing 7 different bills, including Give Kids a Chance Act. And it was a markup session. And what that means is that the other members of the committee get to there was a lot of commentary about the bill and what they supported and what they didn't support. Most of the room, their comments were very, very positive. And then they had an opportunity to add amendments. And I think only 2 or 3 amendments were presented. I'm not sure how many of them were actually added to the bill. And then finally, at the end of it, they voted on whether this bill should move from the Energy and Commerce Committee into the full House. And it was voted overwhelmingly 47-0 to pass it along. So it was great.
Nice.
PWSA got a wonderful shout out from Representative Bilirakis from Florida. There were several of us in the room as this was happening, and it was really, really good. So the PRV, if you have an opportunity to talk to your House members and senators, it is the priority research voucher, and it is a mechanism that researchers who are interested in the rare community can use to fund their clinical trial research. So a pharmaceutical company they're awarded a PRV for a kind of a fast-tracked drug, and then they can use it themselves or they can sell it. They become really valuable because you can sell it from one pharmaceutical company to another, and that gives you the revenue that you need to continue your drug development process. We have 2 drugs in clinical trial right now that are a direct result of this PRV program, and it's a program that has to be reauthorized every year. We thought it was going to happen in December last year. It was part of a big package at the end of the year that fell apart, and all the health things got pulled out of that package. So now we're trying to redo all of those health issues and get it passed. And there was a great sense on the Hill talking to, at various meetings we were at, that we think it's going to happen this time. So please, I hope this is going to let it be so. As Annie said, I hope this is true. It's really important to our research, to the companies that are researching and investing in our disease. So it was a great trip to the Hill, except for the downpour rain as we were trying to leave on Tuesday afternoon. The group I was with, four people got out a little earlier and made it back to the place we were staying reasonably dry. 4 of us, there was nothing dry about us by the time we got back. I've never seen rain. I haven't seen rain like that for a long time. It was crazy, but it was a really good couple of days on the Hill with an excellent group of advocates. So
Yeah, well, thank you so much. Thanks for being there and for doing all that for this community because it's so valuable and it's awesome that we're seeing results that you guys are
yeah,
getting in there and
yeah, it was
getting
really
stuff
encouraging.
done.
A lot of times you go and you don't know how things are gonna play out, you don't see how it's gonna happen. This time we got to see some of it when Energy and Commerce passed it. It was like, "Yes, okay, good."
That's
So,
exciting. All right. Well, thank you for sharing all of that. Yeah, someday I'll understand all the processes.
it's a continuous learning,
I bet, yeah. I mean, I've just been kind of getting into some local issues and learning more about just like even our little city council meetings and how those operate. And,
Well,
um,
it's interesting that you mention local issues because, as some listeners will know, there are a series of meetings happening in states across the country right now
yes.
to get approval for coverage for VICAD XR through the Medicaid programs in your states. And it's important whether your loved one is on Medicaid or not, because other payers kind of follow the lead in the states, so they watch
Mhm.
to see what the Medicaid program's going to do. And, tomorrow it's happening in New Hampshire where I live, so I'll be going up to testify tomorrow, and I've been more active nationally than I have locally, so this is gonna be a whole new experience for me, and, I'll be going to talk about Prader-Willi syndrome and why VICAT's important. And one of the questions that has come up repeatedly in the States is people, equating hyperphagia and obesity, and
Right.
then that takes them to think about the anti-obesity drugs that are on the market right now. So,
Right.
quelling that, trying to kind of, show why this is not an obesity drug, and, yeah, PWS people are not all obese, and we need to kind of focus on the hyperphagia itself. So wish me luck. That's tomorrow afternoon. So
Yay! Well, good luck. All right. Yeah, and if those for those of you listening, if you want to learn more about these testimonies that we're asking for, our pulse that's coming out on Friday will be all about this issue. We're going to put out a special issue just about what these DUR boards and the P&T committees are, what they're looking for, and how you can participate. So, if you are not signed up for the Pulse newsletter, please do that. Also, you can check our socials. But, anyway, yeah, so I don't remember actually the call going out for New Hampshire. I didn't realize that that was coming up, so
we had about 3 days. It was
oh, okay.
there was very little notice, so, yeah.
Okay,
Most
so
of
they're
'em
quick.
most of them are short notice. Most of them have been, some of them been 8 or 10 days, but this
Mhm,
one was really quick, so.
okay. Alright, well, good to know. So, yeah, we'll get that information out, the general information, so when the states do come up, people
Mhm,
are ready. Alright, so we are going to move on to family support, and our blog for the week was another PWS and adulthood blog, which was really nice. We hadn't had one in a while, and this was submitted by Emma Niedermeyer, a 44-year-old individual living with PWS. So she submitted her own responses to our form, and it was just really great to hear from her about her experience living with PWS. And she shared a bit about her story from living arrangements to romantic relationships and advice for parents. And you can find a link to that in the show notes, and you will also find a link to the PWS and adulthood forum. So if you are an adult or if you caregive for an adult and they are willing to share their story, then please share that with us. We also have an exciting event coming up. There is a PWS Egypt and Middle East conference October 1st to the 4th. So this is, I believe, the first of its kind in the area, and it will be hosted by PWS Egypt and Middle East. That is an organization that Sarah Kasabi, our lovely information and referral specialist, she answers the phones. She works with families. She is our language specialist. she she is just an incredible person. Yeah, I know she has helped with this. And this conference, this will be the first 2 days of this conference, October 1st to the 2nd, will be held online. I'm going to do my best with this. So some of the speakers include Dr. Farah Al-Madhoun, Dr. Mohammed Hamdi, Dr. Mona Salem, Dr. Shakri Awadallah, and other professionals and staff from the PWSA USA community. So then, October 3rd through 4th, families will gather in person in Cairo, Egypt for a PWS camp with activities for the whole family. And these will include some live sessions on mental health, along with games and other fun and engaging activities to support and engage the entire family. And this conference is supported by a grant from Friends of IPSO, which, of course, is the International Prader-Willi Syndrome Organization. So we're just really excited for the families in the area, and we hope that it is a huge success.
I'm excited because Sarah has asked Dorothea and I to speak at it, and we haven't worked out all the details yet of what that will involve, but I know it will involve some translation, so that will be an interesting experience, so.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. Oh, I'm glad you get to be a speaker at it. Well, we maybe you can come back on and tell us how it went afterwards, because I would love
Okay.
to hear about it. I didn't get asked to do a journaling session, but that's fine.
Don't take it personally.
Whatever. Okay. All right, so our next item is the C15 Foundation. So this is such a cool thing. So the C15 Foundation is a registered 501 organization dedicated to creating opportunities for individuals living with PWS. And they are announcing the creation of a live, work, play, and thrive community in Chattahoochee Hills, Georgia, approximately 20 minutes from the Atlanta airport. So this is a first of its kind dedicated PWS development and will be home to high functioning, that's in quotes, PWS young adults, current ages of 20 to 30, who have the desire and ability to reach greater heights of independence and self development. So, this will be a 108-acre campus to provide a genuine opportunity to live a more self supportive life while still receiving guidance and light oversight from on camp coaches. Additionally, all residents will be required to have a part time job on or off campus. So, this campus will offer 24 private apartments consisting of a large private bedroom and bathroom with connected common areas. Ample entertainments are included in these common areas, such as games, televisions, and hangout zones. Now, these apartments will not be constructed with kitchens or furnished with refrigerators. There will be a freestanding and ultra secure dining hall that will serve a catered menu of healthy and nutritious campus grown foods. And this dining hall will be the only place on campus where food will be accessible. They also have an activity center, which will include an indoor pool, a walking track, and a yoga room. Engaging activities and classes curated to stimulate movement will be available to all residents. There's also a farm on the property, so there will be fruits, vegetables, and healthy starches. The farming area will provide daily jobs for some residents with an opportunity to care for a few small animals like dogs, chickens, etc. If you believe your loved one with PWS has the desire and ability to live in a semi independent environment, we encourage you to reach out to the C15 Foundation. They expect to begin conducting resident interviews in 2026 with a goal to open in mid 2027. And if you have any questions, you can email Scott Arrett, the founder. That email will be in the show notes along with a link to the website to learn more. And our Ask Nurse Lynn for the week was submitted on behalf of a female, 22 years old, deletion subtype. And the parent wrote in and said, my daughter is not sleeping day or night. She sleeps maybe 2 hours at night and no naps. That means I don't sleep. We have tried OTC and Ambien and they don't work. We need help. I am emotionally and physically exhausted. I will reach out to her psychiatrist, but wanted to know if there are things you know that may possibly work. So the timing on this is nice because Elaine, as we're recording this today, is World Narcolepsy Day. So that's a sleep issue. Just want to throw that out there. That's all the sleep. There's a lot of potential sleep issues that our loved ones experience.
Well, and we're
Uh,
in the process of trying to get our son on the pitocin trial for excessive daytime sleepiness, so sleep is a big thing for us right now too.
yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you're doing that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Freya is about what are we in? We're in September, so 9 months in. I mean, we started the trial in the fall, but she's 9 months having been on the medication.
Mhm.
And I would say it's been its total game changer for her. So
That's amazing.
yeah, I'm really grateful. So so it's yeah, if that's an issue, I mean, for us, like that seems like a bigger issue than hyperphagia. So it's nice that there are options for
Yeah.
families. Well, good luck with the trial. And hope it goes well. And yeah, if you want to read Nurslyn's response, there'll be a link to that in the show notes. She, of course, had very insightful information about PWS and sleep and some alternatives to help with sleep hygiene, and then some medical stuff about medication, which I don't remember. So you have to read it. And then, yeah, we'll move on to research.
Great. So we're announcing a new research opportunity for parents. Would you like to share your thoughts about your experience receiving your child's genetic diagnosis? Researchers at the University of Nebraska Medical Center are recruiting parents and caregivers with a child who received a genetic diagnosis while in the neonatal intensive care unit, pediatric intensive care unit, or critical care unit to share their experiences in a 10 to 15-minute online survey. Responses from this survey may be used to guide medical providers in giving genetic diagnoses and support to families in the inpatient setting. You have to be 19 years or older to participate and have a child who received a genetic diagnosis while in the NICU, PICU, or CCU. And we hope people will consider sharing their experience. I know some of the stories, I've heard a couple of these stories recently of people when they got their diagnosis, the clinicians just weren't that familiar with it or and said things like, "Your child will never, you will never
Yeah.
have," and that's not what you want as a parent. Whatever the diagnosis is, let's try to provide it softer, gentler, provide a little
Mhm.
hope, and I hope that that's what the target of this is. It sounds like that's part of what they're gonna be trying to do is provide guidance to clinicians to perhaps make a little gentler landing when they're when they're,
Yeah.
counseling people who are just getting their
Mhm.
diagnosis. I think this sounds like a great project.
Yeah. It's baffling that a medical professional would even consider saying something like that to
Yeah.
parents of a newborn.
It
Uh,
is, but you hear it even now, even today you hear it. Now,
Mhm.
I didn't have a genetic diagnosis for my son because he was born in 1986 until he
Right.
was 6 years old. So it's a different ballgame today when people get these diagnoses so quickly, which is fabulous. It's
Mhm.
great for lots of reasons, but not great when you're getting, a false sense of doom, when it doesn't need to be there.
Right.
We also, in research this week, we also are announcing another site open in the Aardvark Therapeutics trial, the HERO study, a global phase 3 clinical trial investigating ARD-101, an innovative orally administered treatment designed to help reduce hyperphagia and food-seeking behaviors in people with Prader-Willi syndrome. So a new site has been added in Seattle, Washington. There'll be information in the show notes to link to the contact information for this, and I'm not sure what that takes the number to, but they've got quite a number of sites now available. If this is a study that you're interested in, you can go to the website and discover where all the sites are and see what works for you and your family.
So we have a fun announcement from the Colors of Hope, which is our formerly they were known as the PWS BIPOC Affinity Group, and now they are called the Colors of Hope. And so they're welcoming a new organizer again, our very own Sarah Kasavi. And they have a sweet little bio about Sarah. Sarah is originally from Egypt, North Africa, and currently lives in Nebraska with her husband, who is from Burkina Faso, West Africa, and their 5-year-old son, Khalid, who has PWS. Their family loves road trips and exploring new places together. Sarah joined PWSA USA in 2021 as a member of both the family support team and the international support team, where she focuses on supporting families in the US and around the world, especially those who do not speak English. She feels blessed to be able to use her language skills to help other families on their journey. Sarah truly embodies the spirit of Colors of Hope, which is rooted in culture, compassion, and community. So, Colors of Hope are thrilled to welcome her to their leadership team and excited for the heart, talent, and global perspective she brings to their shared mission. If you feel called to contribute or know someone who would be a great fit, you can email bipocpws@gmail.com and I'll make sure that I have that in the show notes. And I love that with the announcement that they put out, they have it out in English and in Spanish. I am not going to read all the Spanish. There's a lot of big words. I can do pretty well, but sometimes I get caught up. So we will wait till I've had some more practice.
I love that she speaks like 4 languages, so she's
Yeah.
certainly the most multilingual of the staff for sure, and I loved watching her at annual conference interacting with a lot of the international folks that were there and with the IPSO people, and that is definitely her gift and her sweet spot, so I'm really glad we have her.
Yeah, me too. All right, so our resource spotlight is the NICU booklet, which kind of goes along with that research. Spending time in the NICU is a common experience for many families in the PWS community, whether or not they have yet received the PWS diagnosis. The beginning of the PWS journey is often very challenging for families, accompanied by feelings of fear, worry, grief, and countless questions. And as we mentioned before, doctors who are giving awful advice. So we have this booklet called When Your Baby is in the Hospital NICU. And this was written by Colette and Eric Joncas, Joncas, who are parents of a child with PWS. And it was edited by PWS medical specialists. And it is a guide to help parents know what to expect, what to be aware of, and when to ask for help. By providing answers to some of the questions parents and caregivers have while in the NICU, we hope to relieve some of the fears and concerns. If you are a caregiver or a parent in the NICU needing support, you can reach out to us at PWSA at 941-312-0400, and you will find a link to the NICU booklet in the show notes. So that is our pulse for the week. That's our pulse episode. And just on that last little bit, I just have to share with everyone that I got to welcome a little baby into the world, not mine, thankfully. One of my best friends. I got to be at her birth on Friday, and it was a really special experience. And it was such an honor to be there and witness that. So anyway, Elaine, I'm really grateful that you came on and you did this podcast in Carrie's place, and then you got to tell us about your personally about your experiences doing some advocacy work. And I'm wondering if you have a mission moment or something that you would like to share that has happened recently that.
Yeah, I do have a mission moment I can share, especially as we just talked about NICU, being in the NICU. I've actually had two times this in the last 6 months or so that first it was a friend of a friend, and then my aunt reached out to me because they both had heard or knew of new babies that had been born with Prader-Willi syndrome. My aunt lives in a retirement community in South Carolina, and she was talking to a friend of hers who had just had a grandchild born, and he's in the NICU, and they said he has something called Prader-Willi syndrome, and my aunt said, "I know what that is. My niece's son has that." And she was able to connect us right away, which was great.
I
And
love that.
the other was someone in Maine. They live out on an island, and we have a friend who lives there, and my friend reached out and said, "Can I give your information to this new mom?" And it was fabulous. But my mission moment really is a year or so ago, my son and I had the opportunity to have some of our story videotaped, and it's available. You can find it out in various places. And when the new mom in Maine, when her baby was probably about 3 months old, she reached out to me and she said, I was on finally ready to look at the website and start kinda looking for information. She says, "And I came across a video of you and your son." And she said, "I called my husband and made him watch it with me, and we both just cried. It was so encouraging." So that was just
Oh,
validation for why we share our stories, you know? It's just
yes.
yeah, it was really fun to get that feedback and say, "Okay, it's worth whatever we're doing to share stories and get information out there. It's worth doing."
Thank you for listening to this episode of PWS United. If you want to learn more about Prader-Willi syndrome and how PWSA USA is making strides in advocacy, family support, and research, visit www.pwsausa.org. And while you're there, we encourage you to sign up for our Pulse email newsletter to stay informed about the latest news, resources, and events. Don't forget to subscribe to the PWS United podcast so you never miss an episode. Our team is always available to support families and their loved ones living with PWS 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. You can call us at 941-312-0400 or email info@pwsausa.org. Catch a new episode next Tuesday, and until then, have a great week.